Today we are exploring the elements that support grief. While each grief is unique and personal, there are some core elements that grief needs in order to be integrated into our lives. So have a watch and please let me know what I have overlooked. My name is Jo McRogers and I support grief in my private therapy practice and through this YouTube channel. You can be an advocate for grief to be seen and heard on YouTube by subscribing, liking, and turning on the notifications bell. YouTube loves that, and I have to have respect for our host platform. The first element that I can identify to support grief is access to support, and this support can come in many forms and shapes. It can be support that is emotional or religious or spiritual or legal or financial. Can involve housing or banking or wills, childcare, world beliefs, employment support for time off, and employment money for time off. Some of the grief patterns that we experience become driven by logistics, finances, and reality, and they are often not really what grief needs. I do have to warn you that some of the most meaningful support that you will experience may come from outside of where or who you expect it to flow from. If you have been disappointed or angry or furious or incredulous at a partner, at family members, at friends or employers, you know what I'm speaking about. But sometimes the angel of support shows up and we can feel so very seen and understood. A moment that still touches me to the core was over 25 years ago at my mom's funeral, when recently made friends at that time showed up at my mom's funeral. I had no expectation that they would be there. They traveled miles to come, and they brought me a ridiculous gift of funky long underwear for our winter camping adventures. This was so unexpected, and so much love and support was felt. So still, I say thank you, horny and excellent. This is what grief needs, a uniquely personalized response to feel seen and supported. I had a good tear when I was deciding whether to share this story or not, and then, wouldn't you know it, as I was working at my computer, one of my mom's favorite songs randomly started playing in my playlist. So thanks, Mom, for the confirmation. If it feels like a sign, it's a sign. Please share in the comments below where the most surprising support came from for you in your grief. Let's let the world know what we need more of. Acceptance is the next element that I can identify. Acceptance of the loss on a very personal level. What does this loss mean in my life? What impact does this loss have in my day-to-day life? It doesn't need to be fixed. It doesn't need to be rushed. It doesn't need to be distracted from. What we need are safe places to practice this acceptance. I think that often the telling and the retelling of the story of the death is our brain's way of rehearsing how to accept this loss. But the people around us will often worry that we are dwelling or perseverating or not moving on or getting stuck in our grief. And this is often not true. What we are doing is we are practicing our acceptance. The next element is time. Not as in time heals all. I don't support that wishful thinking. But we do need time to rehearse and practice acceptance. We do need time to redefine ourselves now with this loss. Grief is greedy and will at some point demand all of our time and attention. At some point, it will be your primary relationship. Work, friends, partners, kids will all take a backseat emotionally. It helps if this time feels like it's been given instead of stolen. Next, we need to survey what this loss means in the roles of our family. What this loss means in our own day-to-day life. We always think that we have more time. These are really big concepts to assess and integrate into our lives. This takes time. The next concept is community. When we are grieving, we need a sense of belonging and recognition. We need a sense of people just getting it, where there is no need to downgrade our emotions, to downgrade our thoughts, to downgrade our experience, where we don't have to defend or justify or hide our grief. In these places, we can exhale. We can be present without a holding, protecting posture, without a fear of who's going to dismiss us or the fear of who will offer unsolicited advice, who will be so misguided as to offer conclusions to our own grief. God needed another angel. They are in a better place. Any phrase that starts with at least. Well, at least they are out of pain. At least you had them for 60 years. At least you got to see them take a breath. These are all rubbish. This is the shittiest club to belong to, and the membership dues are brutal. And those on the outside of the club often can't, won't, or don't get it. They do love you, and they just want your pain to end. If only it was that simple. So where do we find community? You can find it through your church, your culture, your religion, your sense of spirituality, your family, your friends, maybe a work environment through peer groups or through Facebook groups. I am loving our small and mighty community here on YouTube that we have created. This video, in fact, marks 1 year of fostering this community about grief on YouTube. I can't lie, I was scared and felt really vulnerable to create this channel because grief is a hard sell. So those of us also who choose to work with grief full time are a quirky bunch. So here we are. But I took the plunge, and 1 year later on this channel, we now have over 1,300 subscribers and 39,000 views. To me, this was validation that grief needs community. I'm so thankful that you have come along, supported, liked, viewed, and shared. Who knew that launching a channel about grief would bring me such gratitude? The most rewarding event for me during this year on YouTube was seeing that you started commenting on one another's comments. You offered support and validation and connection and encouragement, and it gave me goosebumps. It also pushed me even further to imagine a community model. So I have been working on an offering behind my practice and behind this YouTube channel of creating a model to support grief. So if you're interested in learning more about the online community that I'm creating, find the link below to sign up for the updates. The next element to consider is patience. In my therapy practice, patience is a very common theme. We often measure ourselves against efficiency and effectiveness, against timelines that are pressured and false, and by to-do lists. I should feel better by now. I should feel like myself again. These are all false goals. Others measure us by whether we have responded to their text or their phone call. Are we back at work? Are they trying for another baby? They measure our wellness by a very broad rake, and we need to measure our wellness with like a fine-tooth lice comb. Did I get out of bed? Did I shower? Oh yeah, did I remember to eat today? Patience is short when we're grieving, and yet it is our friend. The next element to consider is perspective. And when our stuff is right here, right up against our face, there is no room for perspective. Thought distortions take over, and the primary theme of grief, of having no control, dominates. Why bother? I have no control. I don't know how to do this, and I'm never going to feel better. Never going to feel better than this moment of despair. So these are all parts of grief's playbook. As a grief therapist, I honestly believe that if you don't challenge your relationship with grief, you will stay stuck in these filters. So it is important to find places and ways to challenge these thought filters. And having said that, we are right back at the beginning of this video where we talked about support, acceptance, time and community, and finally patience. So it's time for me to stop sounding off, and I want to ask you, what have I missed? What does your grief need? What elements can you also offer? Let's inform each other, because, like perspective doesn't allow a lot of information other than our filters. As you continue to seek support in your grief, I send you kind thoughts, kind words, and a kind heart. If this video has been helpful, please like and share. I feel the big calling to let the world know what we need in order to do grief differently. And let's let YouTube know this. Thank you and take good care.